time now for Coming In Hot with Brent Wallace and former Ottawa Senator Jason York.
Hey everybody, welcome to the show. Brent Wallace alongside Jason York, the smartest man in hockey, also known as York Chop. Welcome to Coming In Hot, brought to you by Bet365. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Yorkie, good morning. There's so much going on with this team. There's never a dull moment.
I think we jinxed everybody. Everybody we've talked about lately, something's happened to. Except, well, good for your boy Matt and Paolo. Hey, Wally,
our boy. You brought him up in the show yesterday.
Yeah. Anyways, well, it's interesting times. When I got up this morning, I made my morning coffee. I said, I got to check out the standings, get a look at the standings. It's crazy now. Like all of a sudden, the Detroit Red Wings are in the mix. Everybody's in the mix except the Buffalo Sabres.
The Montreal Canadiens have now passed the Ottawa Senators in the standings, as Ottawa now sits a point outside the playoffs. But 3 games in hand on Pittsburgh, who's a point up, and then Montreal, 2 games in hand. It's not a great day, Yorkie.
She's getting tight, Wally. It's getting tight there. So it's a huge game tonight in the Motor City. Oh boy, it's a big one. Yeah, no. So it's gonna get interesting now that now the games now now we're playing for keeps here.
So in the chat it was brought up, and I was going to have it ready. Is it time? Is it time?
That's not
to hit
time
the panic button.
Oh boy, I can't believe that thing. You got that out right now. No, it's not time. It's not time. This is one of those things. The season goes like this. There's ups and downs. And that right now the car's starting to go down, and you got to make sure it doesn't slide too much further. But we'll see tonight. This could be no easy task. We talked about this yesterday, how much success the Senators have had against Detroit. When I said that, I didn't realize how well the Detroit Red Wings were playing lately.
Yes, they've won 4 in a row, 4 or 5 under Todd McClellan.
So this is going to be a different Detroit team they face tonight. These guys, he's got these guys believing in themselves. So we'll see. Hopefully they can get the emergency brake on and get that car from sliding down the hill any further.
You know what this reminds me of when you say that is when Brian Burke talked about the 18-wheeler going off the cliff. Yeah. The Toronto Maple Leafs. I was as soon as you said the car going down, I'm like, no, don't picture the 18-wheeler. Listen, I understand. It's one point, it's one game. I understand that. Yeah. Just all the news that's happened lately around the team with no Linus Ullmark. No Travis Hamonic,
the biggie.
Right? Yeah. Now, no Jacob Bernard Docker. We'll get to that in a second. Graeme Nichols.
I like how you put Hamonic right in the mix with Ullmark, Wally. He's right there. No Ullmark, no hammer time. Things aren't great. You don't have those 2 guys now. Boy, the world is.
I got lots of emails and some. I hate would be a strong word. Very strongly disliked and worded emails about me defending Travis Hamonic yesterday.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, you kind of were.
So again, Yorkie, I will say this, and I will 100 times out of 100 would take Travis Hamonic for 1 game over Jacob Bernard Docker if it meant into the playoffs or winning this one. If you needed to win 1 game to get into the playoffs, Travis Hamonic is dressing and not Jacob Bernard. Just for yesterday before he was injured, JBD was in the 4th pairing with Jan Yannick.
Oh, when practice started.
Right? So, again...
Wally Vision didn't report that. That would have been a great get for Wally Vision right now. We got Wally Vision, Bernard Docker in the 4th pairing.
I tweeted that.
So before the... 11. Yeah, but you didn't emphasize that Jacob Bernard Docker is in the 4th pairing.
Oh, my God. I got to find the tweet somewhere.
One game only. He's taken Travis Hamonic to get him into the playoffs. Well, anyways, let's not. We talked about that for 20 minutes yesterday.
I know.
The good news, if you want to take some good news at everything that's happened to the Ottawa Senators, none of their real core pieces as far as forwards are hurt right now. Actually, I know what Amadio to me is a core piece, but none of the big boys like Stützle. Like I listened to Stützle yesterday talk. It looks like he has come around the corner and he was battling something, like he was sick. didn't have his energy. So it
Yep.
looks like he's doing better.
I talked to him yesterday.
Yeah. Well, how did he seem? You saw him in person.
Yeah. He looks fine. Like, it's tough to tell when really pro hockey players are struggling a bit with the flu, because in practice you're probably at 80% anyway. I thought he looked fine. I thought he looked fine the day before.
Yeah.
Yesterday was he
buzzing?
talking. Yeah, he was buzzing. He just seemed fine when he was doing his media interview afterwards. So he admitted the energy level was a bit low, but he's ready to go.
That's good. So there's good news. Your most talented, best player, arguably, whoever you want to.
Travis Hamonic.
Yeah, for you it is. But that's good news. Stützle looks healthy. It looks like he's no longer battling the flu, and because they're going to need him tonight.
Okay, we'll see if you. Anyway, we'll get to the picks later. All right. Before Graeme Nichols is waiting, before we do that, let's take care of some business. As this show is proudly presented to you by Charm Diamond Centers. More than 85 locations across the country, proudly Canadian owned and operated since 1972. Charm Diamond Centers has custom ring building delivered in less than 4 weeks with the Charm Masterpiece program and unbeatable pricing policy. They have a great, knowledgeable staff. If you need some help, go in and see them. They will hook you up, as the kids like to say. Check out a large selection of Canadian lab-grown diamonds, mine diamonds, and don't pay until 2025. Well, it is 2025, so don't pay forever. It's free this year. For more information, go to Charm Diamond Centers. Chosen forever, Charm Diamond Centers. Okay. And as always, if you haven't gone and had breakfast at Gabriel Pizza, there's still time this morning to go do it. It's fantastic. Gabriel Pizza is the official pizza of the Ottawa Senators and, of course, of Coming in Hot. Don't forget, download the Gabriel Pizza Perks loyalty app. Earn points with every purchase on the app and get access to exclusive deals with the Gabriel Pizza Perks. Order online at GabrielPizza.com or use the Gabriel Pizza app. Remember, if the Sens score 4, you get 40% off the next day after the Sens game with any 9-inch pizza. Gabriel Pizza, the official pizza of Coming in Hot. And now, let's welcome into the show our good friend and hockey news writer, Graeme Nichols.
Wally, Yorkie, how's it going?
Good morning, sir. How are you?
Good morning. Not too bad. Not too bad. How are you guys doing? How's the show?
The show is always great. The outside is cold.
I
got to walk.
Wally was just praising his favorite player, Travis Hamonic, before he came on. I don't know if you heard that, Graeme.
Yeah, I was listening to you guys before I jumped on, and that's all right. Nothing wrong.
One game. Who are you taking? One game. You got it. One game to get into the playoffs.
That's a loaded
you going
question.
Hammer time or you going JBD?
I don't know if I want the influx of emails and tweets and texts that Wally's getting. So I'll just say
going
JBD.
to give them your email.
I'll just defer to JBD for now. No, I understand why the sentiment is like that, right? Like Hamonic, he's been
just
thrust
answer
into
the
a role.
question.
I don't know. It doesn't matter. I think it's inconsequential at this point. Like both players have been relatively ineffective. I totally understand JBD, the love. He's the young kid. He's under contract. He's got term left. He's shown stretches of promise at times this season. But I think you have to recognize that he's also played a ton of sheltered minutes with Tyler Clevin. And I think leading up to him being a healthy scratch in the last number of games, he wasn't playing particularly well on a pairing with Tyler Clevin. That pairing was getting caved. But nobody really wants to talk about that. That pairing was doing really well at the beginning of the season in sheltered minutes. Yes. And in the last 12, I think it was 12 to 15 games that I was looking at. I think they had an expected goals percentage at 5-on-5 of 32% or something like that. So you can't pretend that he's been playing very, very well. But I think if he is at his best, I think he's a way better option than Travis Hamonic. But I think as of right now, I don't think he was playing particularly well.
So Graham's going hammer time if he needs to get into the playoffs.
But JBD, just JBD, because I don't want the texts and tweets and emails and everything else. So JBD.
Then why don't you just say Eric Brandstrom? Just go Eric Brandstrom. I got an analytics question. You just brought up 35% for goals for, if I'm not mistaken.
Expected goals for, yeah.
What is considered good or average number?
Anything above 50 is really good. I again, everything's contextual. I think that's where people get kind of hung up on stuff analytically. Your percentages could be very good. And for your listeners who aren't aware, when people talk about the shot share or the goal share, they're talking about total goals scored on the ice. So let's say there's 10 goals scored on the ice, and your team scores 9 of them, well, that person's goals for percentage would be 90%. And it goes to the same as shots. If there was 100 shots and the Ottawa Senators took 90 of them, their shot share would be 90%. So anything above 50 is they're getting the majority of shots. They're getting the majority of goals. That's considered good, but you have to apply context. And I think that gets lost a lot of the time. You have to say, okay, well, why does this guy's numbers look good? And that's where the analysis and the context gets added. And I think like Travis Green has gone on the record like a number of times during his media availabilities when everybody's been hammering on Travis Hamonic and wondering why Jacob Bernard Docker's isn't getting more of a higher profile role with the team in the top 4. And his answer is, listen, like he's playing very sheltered minutes. And if you look at the underlying data, like he's playing the majority of the time in the offensive zone. Whenever there's an offensive zone face-off, they're trying to keep him in the offensive zone as long as possible. So he's not spending a lot of time in the defensive zone, and they're kind of just sheltering. And that's not a fault of the player. He was thriving in the role that he was in, but like that's a coach who's understanding the shortcomings of a player maybe, or just doesn't trust the player at this time. He's trying to give him the best opportunity to have success on the ice. And that's just good coaching.
Yeah. No, and here we are. We've spent the first 10 minutes, and both players are probably out for a long time.
Oh,
How was that injury yesterday? Like I saw the video
good.
online, and
Not good.
So Dan Slater, who is the Sportsnet camera guy, and I were just having a conversation at the glass far end, and it was so loud when he hit the boards, we completely stopped our conversation. And there's noises all the time in the rink, but that was everything stopped. We have the video, and a thank to Gabe LaFrance who allowed us to use it in the show. You can hear him, and then we're like, oh, like so. And then I quickly fired up Wally Vision, and I'm like, oh, this isn't good. You can hear him screaming a little bit. Yelling, screaming. I don't want to. People are like, he's not screaming. He's in considerable pain. And so,
who was the forward going in with him?
Zach will stop Chuck. And I know, and Chucky's right there helping him, and he feels bad. I know you never want to see a guy get injured, and for JBD, it's been obviously a tough year trying to get in the lineup. Before that, he was the 4th D pairing with Jan Yannick, who had been recalled. Nick Matt and Paolo was in. I guess in the 3rd pairing spot with Tyler Kleben. So I don't even think JBD was going to even play today.
Didn't look that way when because that's the way you do it the day before practice. The pairings are usually who's playing, but boy, he went in hard there, guys, and feet first. So judging, and I don't want to speculate, but judging how he came off the ice, this is going to be. It looks pretty serious because you don't leave practice like that if it's not something pretty serious.
They were trying to carry his leg, Yorkie. Like,
yeah.
He wanted no part of putting any weight on that left leg.
Yeah, that sucks. I've been hurt, man. I got hurt in practice once really bad. I had my entire face caved in. I had this dum-dum on my team in Nashville, Dennis Arkipoff. Freaking head down. We're doing a 2-on-2. They do a crossing route in front of me. I go to the drill's over, so I go to poke the puck away. This guy runs into me, helmet first into the side of my head. So all you heard was bang, and then I'm online on the ice. I'm like, okay. I'm like, worst of my concerns here. Least of my concerns is a concussion. I end up breaking the cheek, jaw, and what do they call it? The orbital. Yeah, all three of them. So I'll go right. They take me right to the surgeon to get my face reconstructed. And this
is how you look.
Pretty good, eh? Pretty good. So this is funny. That's funny. My wife actually was at the hospital. She was like, "This is the first time I ever felt bad for you. Like your whole face is caved in." The doc says to me before I go under, he's like, "Yeah, we're gonna have to put a few screws, a few plates in there." And I'm like, "All right, do whatever you gotta do, just fix it." So I wake up from surgery later in that day, and the surgeon's right there. He's like, "You're never gonna believe it." He goes, "I just took a little thing. I popped your face out and all went back into place together." He goes, "You're still going to be out 4 to 6." He goes, "But I didn't have to do any screws." So it was crazy. It was kind of like what's that story? Yeah, they just put me all back together like a jigsaw puzzle. It all went back together perfectly. So
you're like those old Saturn cars. You just pop the suction cup on and pull you right out.
Did you used to have a Saturn?
No, they were too cool for me.
Oh, I could see you cruising a Saturn, Wally. Eh? Cool. Hey, got the CD disc changer in there.
Oh, I had a disc changer in the trunk 6-disc changer in the trunk of my
Oh, and
Chevy Cavalier.
it probably skipped all the time when we went over a bump. I hit a bump on the CD.
It was high end. I
We're
removed the
dating ourselves here,
faceplate when I
Graeme.
went in the house.
Oh, complete with a spoiler and everything else, right?
Yeah.
I
Chrome
don't get
wheel.
it. Can somebody please explain the spoiler thing to me? Like, why do you need a spoiler on your Honda Civic? I don't understand that.
I can't.
Better
I
traction
always,
on the
I always
road.
tease
when
those
you're on
guys.
the
Like, okay,
I
come
don't
on, it's
know.
Ottawa. Like, why
You're
is
going to
the
tell
car
me none of the
lowered?
guys you played with had spoilers?
Not on a
cars?
Honda Civic and not lowered with little mags on it. No, none. I will
I
tell
just
you
remember the one guy I always thought I shouldn't have said made fun of was Andreas Dackel would drive a Ford Escort to practice.
that. Because I
Orange.
think he got it. I think he got it from Canada Ford.
You
Canada
got a
Ford.
deal, yeah.
Well, they get all the Europeans and everybody. I drove a Ford Taurus one winter. It's like the winter in Ottawa. Who cares? Give me like a car that I don't care about. It's like it's miserable here in the winter.
All right, let's go back to the show.
All right.
There is, as you brought up earlier, there is concern with the playoff spot being a point out as we start today. Likely not going to have Linus Ullmark for a week or two. Should the Ottawa Senators be considering acquiring a goaltender to help with the situation? Graeme, I'm going to start with you.
I guess it depends on who's available and what's the price, right? I think that's the beginning and end of every conversation that you have.
Yep.
Like John Gibson's one of the names that I've seen thrown around in like the last little few days there, and I just looking at the cap situation, I don't know how you fit a guy like that in, and then you're allocating so much money to the goaltending position with two guys who are like he has his own injury concerns of his own. Like he's rarely healthy and playing full stretches of games as well. So I hate saying just bide your time because obviously the games are important. I think like Ottawa is 1 point back of Montreal now. They have a few games in hand, 1 point back of Pittsburgh as well with a couple games in hand. But yeah, they're at risk of being in a situation right now where if they don't win games, they're just sliding back into the pack where they had that kind of cushion before. And obviously every game's important and you need to win, and it'd be nice to ice the best roster that you can. But I just don't, in this market, I just don't know who you could get, who's available, who might be better than some of the alternatives that you have internally. I don't know.
It's a great point, Graeme, because you bring a guy in, and if you want to get a good guy, you're going to have to pay a lot, and it's going to cost you a lot on your cap. So how do you do that? You're already at the cap for the Ottawa Senators, so you can't do that. But then you start looking. Well, everyone's talking about Caden Primo. So you bring in a guy that's kind of struggling with his game, that's been sent down to the American League, and you're hoping it's all going to work out here. But I think they've bought themselves some time because Merilainen came up, but he's played pretty good. So I don't think it's a desperation thing right now. If he came up and he shit the bed, then it's like, okay. now we're a little bit worried because we don't have a lot of options. Forsberg came in after not playing in a while and didn't have the best of nights, but I still haven't lost complete faith in Forsberg because I just remember I told Wally this yesterday. Graeme, beginning of the season, everybody thought Forsberg was done, and they're like, he can't play anymore. And if we remember, he a couple shutouts, a couple big games, started playing well, kind of found his game again, and kind of kept Ottawa in the fight. So I'm hoping he rediscovers how he was playing early on in the season. So I don't think it's peril yet, fellas. Let's fast forward to maybe a couple of weeks, and let's say Ullmark's not back, and this team has slid increasingly down the standings, maybe. But right now, I don't think it's desperation time yet.
I don't think you have the room to make a trade. And
well, that's the thing. That's the thing.
It's easy to go. Well, just go acquire somebody. You have 3 contract spots available, and you only have a certain amount of money. Bringing in John Gibson. What do you do after in a month when Linus Ullmark returns? So exactly. You're going to have to move Forsberg out if you're going to want to bring somebody in. In order to do that, you have to pay a premium. There's lots of stuff. Like since Forsberg had the back-to-back wins, he's 2-6 in his last 8 with an 875 goals against, 875 save percentage and a 309 goals against. He hasn't been great, but I'm not sure the answer is out there somewhere in order enough to disrupt your roster.
Yeah, no, and just looking at like if it was Mads Søgaard and Merilainen playing all the time, like if that was the situation, I would say, yeah, bring in someone who has a little bit more NHL experience. But we're not at that situation yet, and it is Forsberg. And looking at his numbers like this year, like it seems like Forsberg's played better when he's facing shot volume. And I know like Yorkie, like there's tons of goaltenders who thrive in those situations.
Yeah,
but like I think with Ottawa, the one thing that they've been doing well is kind of keeping the opposition to the outside, allowing a lot of perimeter shots. They're taking away the inside well. So it's just like if they can continue to limit the chances on the inside of the ice and that home plate area around the goal, they should theoretically be fine. It's just they need guys to step up and make saves. But I understand the frustration of fans who see like Forsberg play the last game and he allows like 4 goals on like 15 shots or whatever it is. And it can be frustrating. I get it. Like you want to see a goaltender make a save in that situation, and it hasn't been happening enough, especially with the backup position this season.
Yeah, no big saves lately. Like you could have used, like people say, yeah, there's 2 breakaways, but stop one of the 2 and give your team a chance. But they didn't have it as a team last game either. Like they look flat. They weren't generating anything. The team's been sick. So who's starting tonight? Do we know yet, guys? Has it been announced yet?
It's never announced anymore, but I would be shocked if it's not Merilainen.
Yeah.
And by the way, Merilainen has 6 career starts in his career, all of them on the road. He's never started at home.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So you would think he's probably going to get the nod tonight, but I'm excited for the kid. I like how he's played. Like he has a little bit of swagger. Like when he's in there for a young guy, like he just seems like at least when I watch him, he's not afraid of the moment. And you see some guys go in there, you can just tell by their body language. He looks like he's got a good future, but it's so early for him. He's a young guy. Like I said, he's bought them some time. And I love your point there, Graeme. What are you going to do? You're at the cap. Like there's just the list of goalies is so small. Number one, that are available that are good, and then the ones you can actually fit into your salary cap. So I think as this situation plays out, there'll be more clarity. But for right now, I just think it's going to be status quo.
The only concern I have is if it's longer than 2-3 weeks for Linus Ullmark.
Yes, for sure.
And now Steve Staios has that information likely. So if he makes a deal, I wouldn't be utterly shocked, but that would mean I think that Linus Ullmark is out for 4 to 6 weeks.
Oh, well, don't say that.
Right? Like otherwise you're going to have to stand pat and see what these guys can do.
Yeah,
I think you have to afford them the opportunity to fail before you do something desperate.
Yeah. 4 to 6, Wally. You just our viewership just their mouths just dropped.
You're gonna get more angry texts and emails. And...
No, for Travis Green, who says nothing about anybody ever for the most part on injuries, saying week to week, and it's not a couple of days, and he's already been out for 2 weeks.
Week to week's not good.
No.
Not good. No.
So anyway, all right, moving on. The Detroit Red Wings are tonight's opponent, with the Ottawa Senators needing, I think this is a crucial win. Hopefully the Sens can exploit the Detroit penalty kill, which is atrocious at 31st. But this is a pretty even game, and especially with the way Detroit's played of late. As we've said, they've won 4 straight, 4 or 5 under Todd McClellan since the change, the coaching bump. And it features the 2 arguably best under 23 players in the league, as in Mo Seider and Tim Stützle. Good game tonight. What do you expect to see from the Ottawa Senators in this one, Graeme?
Hopefully a much better effort than the last 2 games. I think, as Yorkie alluded to earlier, the team has just had no energy for the last little stretch. And I think like the flu's played a huge part of that. And they talked about it yesterday at practice. Wally, you talked to Tim, and Tim acknowledged that he was under the weather. So if that's going through the team, I think like at least there's context. There's added context for why this team's playing poorly. And it's just you need to see that energy level up. And if the energy level's still not there, I think that's when you get concerned. But this is pretty much a must-win game for Ottawa. But like they've handled Detroit very well in recent years, so they're up for it, hopefully. And we'll see what happens. And hopefully Merilainen gets a start.
It's funny you mentioned Maurice Seider, and you didn't mention Jake Sanderson, Wally, and that's
I was thinking point totals. I apologize.
But he hasn't looked the same lately, and perhaps he's been one of the guys because he doesn't say much. He's just goes out and plays, and something's up with him. He just hasn't had the same energy. He probably had the flu as well. But I go back to that game against Dallas. I'm his biggest advocate. I think the world of this kid. He's making mistakes I haven't seen made before. And I don't know if it's fatigue or sickness, but it would be great if he could get back to playing the way he can. And maybe now with Zub back, his old partner, I know his numbers with Zub are significantly higher than the ones with Hamonic. So hopefully with that pairing of Zub and Sanderson, it gets Sanderson back to that level he was at before, because he was all world, and it just hasn't been the same player, guys. And I'm just talking about Russell a while.
Do you buy into like players learning bad habits and like if we're talking about Hamonic again, being partnered with him throughout the course of the year, and like Shabbat kind of went through it with Zaitsev as well. When you're partnered with someone who's probably playing a little higher than they should in the lineup, like, is it easy to fall into those bad habits? Is it easy to pick them up, or what would you attribute it to?
The biggest thing, Graeme, is I'll compare it to the pairing of Jensen and Shabbat. You watch how those guys always are available for each other for breakouts. And if you want to be a defenseman that has a better plus minus and that's going to have a better season, it's getting out of your own zone. They always talk about that first pass. And how do you get out of your own zone? Well, a lot of times you're going to need your partner. And if you watch Sanderson when he plays with Hamonic and he goes back for pucks, a lot of times Hamonic will talk to him. You'll tell him what's going on, but he won't become available for a pass because he figures Sanderson's going to go back, do one of the escape moves, do something special, and get out of the zone. And he'll tell him. But if you watch Zub when he plays with Sanderson, Zub will get to a spot because he won't talk as much as Hamonic, but he will. He has to talk, so we do know that. But it's more of he just knows that Zub's going to be in a position for a quick reverse or a bump play, so he can use Zub more for breakouts, where Hamonic doesn't want the puck quite as much because he's more of a shot blocker, more of a defender, where Zub's more of a puck mover. And I think that just goes hand in hand to Sanderson's game, because after a while, forwards figure out what you do. Like, I just think the first couple of years for Sanderson, he was kind of surprising forwards, because if I'm going in to forecheck a D, and he's a young guy, and I got the angle on him. Okay, I'm going to angle him. I know the puck's going up the boards, and you take it for granted he's going to do it. But then Sanderson, oh shit, spinorama. He's out, skates the puck up, and then wow, this kid's pretty good. But then after a while, you get a little bit of a book on that, and I think that's kind of what's happened to him. And then when you're playing with a Hamonic, you just don't have those same options as a Zub, because Zub can skate the puck out of trouble. He's a better player. We all know that, but for sure, the long-winded answer to your question, Graeme, yes, playing with a guy like Zub is going to help you. And it's just Hamonic is what he is. And that's why Shabbat's played so much better, because everyone's talking about Jensen being this super defensive player. Well, yeah, he is good defensively, but it's more his puck moving. He helped Thomas in getting the puck out of his zone more efficiently.
By the way, gentlemen, Max Gannett has just been recalled. So, which is interesting. And maybe it's due to Nick Jensen, but Nick Jensen skated yesterday. So I'm not sure if he's still battling the flu or something, but interesting. They have recalled Max Gannett.
Interesting. Yeah. Huh. Maybe they just want the extra body. Well, they've done this before. They bring extra bodies on the road with them.
But it's only a
just
game.
One game. Yeah, that's the weird part. They go to Pittsburgh on Saturday.
And someone's probably sick.
Well, because I asked Travis about it yesterday. I'm like, why did you recall Matt and Paolo and Jan Yannick? This was before the Bernard Docker injury. And he's like, we wanted the extra bodies, which it's not really common in today's cap world. So that one was interesting to me. So clearly they maybe called up Matt and Paolo in case of Jensen. So I'm wondering now if Jensen's not good to go with Shabbat. So that may alter your picks. And I don't think Charlie had this information when she made her pick. So we'll find out.
So Wally, back it up 6. So Jensen didn't skate.
Did skate yesterday.
He did skate, and he did the whole practice. Okay.
So Brandon is saying 1,200 tweeted yesterday that Jensen appeared to be favoring his leg after a turn. Maybe. I didn't see it, but maybe.
I'll leave a mark. If he's not playing, that one's going to leave a mark.
Large mark.
Yeah.
They'll just have to score 7 goals.
I wouldn't go that far, but he's been good. He's been good this year. Like,
that's a big ask. That's a big ask, Wally. I think Ottawa's like the second. I think Ottawa's like the second lowest scoring team in the league since like November 15th.
Yeah, they haven't in the last 10 games. They haven't scored. Well, they've only scored 4 goals or more once.
It's been crazy, eh? Like, so what do you attribute that to, Graeme? When you're watching games, like why there's scoring down so much?
I think it goes back to your point about puck moving. I think like they're spending too much time just with. They're not breaking the puck out cleanly, and I think that's impacting their offense. And it's just, you know, as you said, like Jake Sanderson's got like 4 even strength points this year, and it's like 1 more than Travis Hamonic. And it's like if he is your preeminent defenseman on this team, like you need him to give you more than what he's giving you. And I think like for a second pairing that's playing a significant amount of minutes, they're just not getting enough offense with that pairing on the ice. And hope it changes with Zub coming back. Like I think historically, when Sanderson plays with Zub, like the results are a lot better on the ice. But when you're spending half the game in your own end defending with Sanderson and Hamonic on the ice, it makes it difficult to generate offense. And I think up front, I think like Josh Norris needs to find another gear at 5-on-5. I think there hasn't been enough puck driving. I think like you're relying extensively on Brady Tkachuk and Tim Stützle to do the heavy lifting up front and get the puck through the neutral zone into the other end. And they just need more from guys like Norris, Giroux. They just need more from those guys.
One thing before we go to the forwards, do you have recent numbers? I don't think Zub and Sanderson have been great together.
So they've been on the ice for 130 minutes. So I was looking at the numbers last night before just doing some research for the show.
Like a good guy who's prepared.
Yeah,
you have your own nerd report. I appreciate it.
There you go. Yeah, 130 minutes together. So when they've been on the ice, they've generated more than 50% of the shots. So shots on goal, shot attempts, like Corsi attempts. So they're doing well in that respect. Expected goals for, they're at 56%. But in terms of actual on-ice goals, they're sitting at 11%, which means the opposition is scoring 90% of the goals when that pairing's on the ice. So it's just like small sample size, obviously, and it's not, but I mean, like the goaltending also hasn't been particularly strong either when Ullmark hasn't been playing. So like there is context there, but I mean, it just needs to be better. And theoretically, over time, it should, if they continue to win the shot share and the expected goal share, that should improve over time.
It is clear to me that Travis Hamonic is the number 1 D on this team.
he actually, his last couple of games he played pretty well, but there is, I've always said this, everybody always talks about lines and like players need a guy to play with. I actually think it's more important for defensemen. When you have a partner that you just have chemistry with and you know where each other on the ice is, and you kind of like what's happened with Jensen and Shabbat, it helps. I think it helps your team more than when you have line combos, because that's where it all starts. It all starts on the breakout. If you can't get out of your own zone, you're screwed. So I just think Zub's, he was out so long, fellas. I think he's going to get back into the swing of things, get some reps. It always takes a couple games before you start feeling like yourself again.
He needs the Russian gas.
Oh, the Russian gas will get him going. He'll start speaking. You'll hear him yelling on the ice. Did you hear about the Russian gas, Graeme?
No, I haven't heard the story about the Russian gas.
Oh,
is this a Johansson story?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He said it was near the end of the season, and he was playing over in St. Petersburg. He said when you walked into the rink, well, first of all, I had to shake like 20 guys' hands, the doctors, the owners, all the guys. And he said the doctor was like, "Come here. You don't look very well. Come with me into this room." And they'd hook you up, and they would give you this, what did he say? Was it a little injection or something? Give you an injection. He didn't know what it was, but him and this guy, Jamie Heward, got it. And they said for the next month, they felt unbelievable. So because the Russian gas, they were told it was some kind of vitamins or B12 shot or whatever, but he's adamant it was some kind of Russian gas.
We'll move on. Is the which I believe is what Alex Ovechkin is using to score all these goals. Is you talked about Josh Norris, and maybe Josh Norris needs a little Detroit because he seems to love to play against his Michigan native team, if you will. The last game they played Detroit, December 5th, there was a 2-1 win, Norris with both goals. That, by the way, was Linus Ullmark's first of his 7-game win streak. In Detroit, the Sens are 6-1-1 in the last 8 games. Norris, by the way, has, I think it's 10 points in 9 career games against the Detroit Red Wings. You brought up Norris, Giroux. I don't like Giroux's game right now. I don't know what the issue is, if anything, if it's just age. but there's something going on. They need to generate, as you said, more 5-on-5. They just don't seem to be able to, whether it's going to the net or bringing. There's just up front. I don't like their game.
100%. And like they're using Pinto on the top line because he's been hot, and that's totally understandable. But like I was just looking at Ottawa's line combinations, like just again doing more research for the show, and Travis Green just throws the lines in the blender like constantly. I think they've only had 2 lines that have played like more than 100 5-on-5 minutes together. So in terms of like chemistry, you talk about chemistry, cohesion, Yorkie on the back end. I think up front it's very similar. And I think part of that is obviously because of injuries to like Perron, Amadio. They're switching guys constantly all the time, trying to get guys going. And Pinto's on the top line, like you said. But I think as I watch Norris more and more post shoulder surgery, like the one thing that stands out to me with him is that he's not driving play as much as I hoped he would, for a guy who is labeled as a great like 2-way player coming out of college in Michigan. He's developed in a more of a shooter more than anything. And it's just, whether it's carrying the puck or whatnot, like they just need more out of him. And when he's playing with Gaudet, it hasn't worked. And then like having 2 shooters on the same line with a Nick Cousins, I just don't know if there's that chemistry there just to make it work. And you just, for a guy that they're spending a lot of money paying to play, like almost $8 million, like they just need more out of him. And when he has played historically with Brady Tkachuk or they just need someone who can drive play with him, someone who can carry the puck through the neutral zone, create space for him in the offensive zone, and then allow him to use his shot just to get goals and produce. They need someone like that. And if he doesn't have that on his line, they're just spending way too much time in their own end defending because they just don't have the puck often enough. It's really frustrating to watch, but they need a lot more out of him, and they need to complement him with a player who can help him.
It's interesting they got him. Like the thing I do like about Travis Green, guys, is he sends messages through ice time and which line you're on. So right now he's happy with Ridley Gregg. Why wouldn't you be? He's scoring. He's playing physical. He's making a difference. So he rewards him, puts him up with Brady Tkachuk and Pinto. I think this is going to help Giroux. We talked about this yesterday, Graeme. He's got some nice chemistry with Stützle. Batherson's a guy that can drive plays. So I think this is going to help Claude right here. But I'm concerned with Josh Norris too. And Adam Gaudet, it's just, he's a shooter, and he needs guys to help him out to get him the puck because he's not the best of skaters. So I'm going to have my eye on this line tonight to see what could happen with those 3. But Norris was good. Start of the year, kind of midpoint. I was watching him, and the thing I really liked about his game was his attention to detail on defense. He was on top of the puck. He was back checking hard, like all that. And I still find his defensive game has improved, but you're not making $7.5 million to be a defensive forward. You gotta drive plays 5-on-5. So they need him to get going. I think
that's a frustrating part too, because like tools wise, like great skater, headsy player, like he's a smart player and he can skate well. And it's just, you're trying to wrap your head around like, well, okay, like he's got tools that can work. How do you unlock the mystery of Josh Norris so he can become a player on his own? Because I think, again, like you look at Ottawa's roster, it's like Brady Tkachuk and Tim Stützle can carry lines on their own, but with Norris, he needs help. So like, how do you augment that with the players that they have to bring out the best of him? And I don't know if there's an answer on the roster right now.
Do you know what I think? I think he has great chemistry with Drake Batherson. Like these guys, I find when they're on the ice together, they just know where each other are. I would love to see Norris on the wing, and I just think it would free him up a little bit. Not as much responsibility. He's a good skater. He's got a great shot off the wing. I would like to see him, like, potentially you go back to those lines like Tkachuk, Stützle, and Giroux. And I'd love to see maybe perhaps a Pinto, Norris, Batherson, and I'd love to see Ridley Gregg and Cousins together on a line, like 2 shit disturbers on a line together, just running around, driving other people nuts, and then. But we'll see. Like these, depending on what happens tonight, it's probably lines will get mixed up again. But no, it's Norris he has to be better for sure.
Well, they do have Jan Yannick. I don't know if he, again, skated as the extra forward yesterday. I don't know if he comes in. I could see him maybe replacing Gaudet on that line just to see if there's a spark. But if you've suddenly got Max Gannett, Nick Matenpalo, Jan Yannick in your lineup against Detroit, who's flying right now, I think you're in some trouble. Like there's too much change.
They just got to play the right way. If they continue to play the way they are with limiting chances, playing that system they've been playing, it's just guys have to step up in the lineup. It can't. If Stützle's not going, which he hasn't been in the last couple of games because of sickness or fatigue, other guys have to step up. And to Graham's point, to your point, it's guys like Drew, guys like Norris, and it can't just come from Stützle and Tkachuk all the time.
All right, quick. We got to get to Graeme. Do you want to stay for Charlie because it's the internet sensation? Do you want to see Charlie's choice?
Let's do it. Let's do the choice.
Let's go.
Yorkie, do some work.
Well, thanks to our good people at BEI, Bonisher Excavating. Been with us since day one, and they're the company you need for equipment rentals, aggregate, topsoil, custom crushing and screening, as well as hot mix paving. They can fix you up with that. So when you're planning your next project, please consider BEI for all your aggregate supply needs. You can get them at bonisherexcavating.com or at 613-432-1120. BEI, as always, is helping to shape the Ottawa Valley. And please remember to slow down in construction zones.
And of course, our show proudly presented to you by our presenting sponsor, if you will, Bet365. Open an account today. Bet on a huge range of markets. So whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Use code NATION. Must be 19 years of age or older. Please play responsibly. And as always, download the app today. We'll get to our picks in a sec. But Yorkie, Charlie's kicking our ass. So there's been some complaints. But I don't think that Charlie cares what anybody else has to say because she's way ahead of everybody. So here now is Charlie's choice.
All right, Charlie. We got a big game tonight. We got Ottawa in the Motor City to face the Detroit Red Wings. They no longer find themselves in a playoff spot. A ton of teams now in the mix for that wild card spot for those last two spots. So, question of the day that everybody wants to know, who do you have tonight? Do you have the Ottawa Senators or the Detroit Red Wings? The choice is yours.
It's a great drawing.
Who you got?
He's thinking,
wow.
Charlie, no hesitation.
Without hesitation, is going with the Detroit Red Wings.
Boo! Charlie's getting booed. Yeah, it's just that was a good drawing. I did that a while ago because now we're getting into repeat emblems. Wally, I had that from the previous game, but no, her record's sizzling right now. Do we have the records? Can we see Charlie's record right now so Graeme can see her handiwork? 9-3.
That's a 70-50 winning percentage, I think.
Crazy.
Not bad though. You're all doing well.
Do we go against Charlie? Like, I don't know. I'm not going first here, Wally. I'm not going first.
I'm concerned. Ottawa loves playing against the Red Wings. Versus Detroit, they're 13-2-1 in the last 16 games. They haven't lost in Detroit since October of 2023. Sorry, 2022 is the last loss at Detroit. The last loss versus the Wings was 2023.
What say you, Wally?
Ottawa needs this win more than the Detroit Red Wings, as far as I'm concerned. I'm going to say the Ottawa Senators bear down and shut down the Cat and company and take the victory.
A cat. That's first mention of the cat in the show today.
I did that for you. Although Detroit the favorite, by the way.
I'll say the Detroit in overtime.
Wow. Detroit.
Just trying to say they'll get a point. I see what you're pandering to the crowd.
No. Loser. This feels like a loser point kind of game.
Yeah. Jeez. I'm usually arm in arm with Charlie. We usually have a connection on these games, but I'm going to disagree with Charlie on this one. I think there's certain teams you just play well against. You love playing in the building. Ottawa just matches up physically very well against Detroit. And I can't ignore that history there, but I'm concerned with if Jensen's out tonight and we got no report, Wally, like, come on. We don't have all the
skating this morning. They won't make their roster announcement until 6:30 tonight.
Yeah. I'm going to go with Ottawa. They play well against Detroit, and I think this is going to be the game that gets them back into the win column. So I'll take Ottawa.
All right. We'll see how this plays out. I lost my train of thought on what was coming up next, but Graeme, what else stands out to you for Ottawa right now as we get set here to enter into a crucial week, if you will? Detroit, then Buffalo, right? And then the
Buffalo on
Pittsburgh
Thursday,
Penguins.
yeah.
Then, of course, it's Dallas on Sunday.
I thought after like the December schedule, I'm thinking, okay, they made it through. They played well. They're winning games, getting important points down the stretch. And then the schedule for like January comes up and you're like, holy, back-to-backs. Like it's just
every weekend.
Oh, it's awful. It's just awful every weekend, like you said. And it's not like they're playing 2 games at home. It's like they're playing 1 game on the road, 1 game at home. And it's a terrible, terrible stretch. But like I feel like if Ottawa would just like get through these injuries, if they can get an Amadio back, a Perron back, a Nick Jensen potentially if he doesn't play tonight. If they can kind of just like get through this stretch of injuries and get Ullmark, and just be in the mix. As soon as the schedule gets a little bit lighter, I think this team's going to roll. Like they're playing so well defensively. It's just I feel like they're just kind of waiting for that break where everyone can kind of like get back together, play cohesive hockey, and I think you'll see the offense start to come a little bit. And then as the deadline approaches as well, maybe this team makes a move. If they're in that mix, like they could desperately use another skilled forward up front
and a D and a goalie.
Listen. We said this yesterday. This is the first time. What's the date? What is it? January 7th today, Wally? It's January 7th. When was the last time it was January 7th and the Ottawa Senators were in a position to make the playoffs? It's been a long time.
I'm with you. I agree.
It's been a long,
You're going back 8 years.
Yeah.
But we forget all of that, and now we get greedy, and now we're unhappy when they're not in a playoff spot.
I like how they're playing. They seem to have an identity now, and it's playing close to the vents, limiting other teams' opportunities, and not beating themselves anymore. So I agree. I agree with Graeme. Like just stay afloat here, get your goalie back. Hopefully their power play can get going because it's shown signs of being a great power play. And this, to me, this is the team. You need a team. You need to win. This is the team you got to play at Detroit. They've had great success against them. So hopefully tonight they get back, start another streak.
Are you surprised that they haven't changed up the penalty kill strategy at all, Yorkie? Like they've been rocking, so they were working the box and the diamond in the preseason. They've got away from the box, depending on the personnel that they were using, and they've been strictly using the diamond the entire time. Like I understand the point about taking away the middle of the ice and limiting the chances in the slot, but it's a pretty passive penalty kill that they play. Yes. Are you surprised that they haven't got away with it because the results just haven't been there?
When I watch it, and they had that nice little streak for a while because it was really bad, and then they seem to get more aggressive, Graeme. I am of the opinion where I'd like to see more situational awareness where you have your structure. This is the way we're going to kill, but there's always something that happens, whether there's a bobbled puck, there's a chance to get a puck. I'd like to see them be a little more risky and calculated risks of just putting more pressure. Because I just find teams today, and this is just at the Ottawa Senators, I just find everybody gives too much time and space. Like if I'm a guy in the power play, I love when I don't get pressured. Especially the D. The D are so good now. You play against a team that has a good defenseman and you back off, it's going to bite you. So yeah, I'd like to see them just situational, depending on what's happening. Take some chances, be a little more aggressive, pressure a little bit more, because I just find they give other teams' power plays too much respect sometimes.
I meant to bring this up earlier. David Perron and Michael Amadio both out skating again yesterday. They came out. So then there was a Zamboni issue where Justin Peters says, I need a clean sheet for my goalie. So they kicked them off. Then Perron and Amadio came back out to shoot on the goalies. Perron left once practice ramped up. Amadio stayed until there was any kind of contact, whatever, because he's still wearing a non-contact jersey. I think Michael Amadio is not far. He's doing all the drills, except I don't think he's cleared for contact would be the closest thing.
It's a concussion protocol, so he's doing all the steps. So he's at the step now where probably after this road trip, he probably goes into a contact practice. That's my best guess. Yeah. He's probably real close to playing.
He's similar. Tomorrow. It feels like it's similar to like what Zub went through, right? Like it's pretty much the same timelines right now.
Yeah. So and David Perron looks really good. So I don't know if then he waits to see how the back acts the next day or the day after, but I don't know that he appears to be that far off either at the moment, which would be good. Maybe that's the deadline acquisitions we talk about.
Right? Your veteran player that's got some experience, knows how to play in big games. It's like making a move without making a move.
I've really liked Nick Cousins' game since he elevated in the lineup. But I mean, if you can start sliding some of those guys into more depth roles and have them play a little bit lower, like the depth on this team is just going to improve markedly, and that's going to be a huge difference maker down the stretch.
Okay, here's a question before everybody loses their mind. It's a general. I'm throwing it against the wall. Would you ever put David Perron, as of right now, you're looking for a top 6 player. Would you ever put him in Ridley Gregg's spot on the top line? Which is arguably the top line. I don't know that there is one at the moment.
No. Ride the hot hand.
Right now, no. But if he came back, older players for short stints can do it.
That's yes, down the stretch.
He would need to get. It would take him a while to get reps, because when you're playing on a line like that, you got to play with a lot of pace, and he's missed a lot of time. But
he's played 4 games.
Yeah. Once the games get tighter, heavier, like he's got that experience. It's just I'd need to see him get back in the mix and play well over time. But you wouldn't just as soon as he's healthy, hey, get back on that top line right there. No, it's gonna be a slow and steady climb back for David Perron, because just missed so much time.
Yeah. Okay.
Detroit used him in that role. Like he played a lot with like Dylan Larkin, so like he can. Yeah. He's smart. He's done it recently, and yeah, he is a smart player. He's not the fastest guy anymore by any stretch. I think he's relatively slow at this stage. But
I'd put it this way. I like David Perron a lot more on that line than Adam Gaudette.
Yep.
Like without a doubt. It's a no-brainer for me.
All right, gentlemen. We'll see how this all plays out as Ottawa gets set to take on the Detroit Red Wings tonight in a. Do we call it a must? I don't call it a must win. Do we call it a must win?
Big game, Wally. It's a big game. It's a big one. That's not a must one, but it's an important one, because the tone of our show is going to be a little different if they lose again.
They'll be tied for points after tonight if they lose.
Yeah.
So I would say it's pretty close, especially the momentum that Detroit has.
That's that right. We've seen that with Boston got the bump with the coaching change. St. Louis got it as well. Like there is the bump that happens. I'm just curious if Detroit can continue to roll. And by the way, the last time
Detroit's
I think
going to be one of the weirder rosters, right, in the league. Like just acquired a bunch of like more one-dimensional, smaller guys who can't really defend that well. Like and they're old. Like it's bizarre, right? Like
kind of soft. Soft. Goaltending, you're not really sure about. It's just there's a lot of question marks there, but they're winning right now.
The last win for the last time Ottawa, I think, lost in Detroit, Cam Talbot and Alex DeBrincat were members of the Ottawa Senators.
With a cat. Second mention.
All right, John. Hey, Graeme, thanks for stopping by. We appreciate
no worries. Appreciate you extending the invite. It's always fun.
The most prepared guest we've ever had, even more prepared than Yorkie, which is nice.
Thanks, Graeme.
No worries, guys.
We are back tomorrow, 3 p.m. We will see you all then. Take care, everybody. Have a great day.
See you, everybody.
See ya.
Thanks for tuning in to Coming In Hot. If you enjoyed the show, hit that like button and be sure to subscribe to never miss an episode.